My presentation on cultural ideals and how the U.S. is going to take initiative and avoid losing other people's culture. So, cultural values, within cultural values, culture is one of the most important things that society and really America as a whole, or the globe as a whole, can attribute to most of the growth, because with different cultures comes different ideals, and differentiating ideas proceeds to growth. Like, for example, the space race, the American culture versus the Russian culture. So what causes the loss of culture? There's really two things. The first, the main one being cultural appropriation, which is, and then I'll give my quote. And then the next one is immigration and kind of whitewashing. So,
about the Aztec pyramids.
Right, we'll get to that. So immigration being when people move to the United States from a different country, they might feel like their culture is not as strong, obviously because it's a different place. So the argument to this not being an issue is that America is kind of deemed as the melting pot of the world with a ton of immigrants from all over, even though we might not be a melting pot anymore. At one point we were. So what is this question? What's the question at hand? It's how Americans can learn from previous mistakes in order to stop cultural appropriation and the plagiarism of cultural ideas, tastes, and motives. So in order to fix this ongoing issue of the insensitivity and unoriginality of taking others' cultural values, is to understand how powerful cultural appreciation can be.
Appropriation or
Appreciation. And how it can be the solution.
What is that picture?
It says culture, not costume. I thought it was nice. Because that's a big issue, is like, so for example, there's a Native American from like the Sioux tribe in North Dakota, and he said that people in his tribe were hurt by people in a neighboring town that were dressing up like them for their Halloween. And he said that he said
You're
that
so racist.
he said that their culture is not costume. And I think this represents that very well. So if we want to just zoom out a little bit more.
You know what is also like cultural appropriation?
What?
Queerbaiting.
Huh?
Queerbaiting.
What's that?
Oh, you're guilty of that.
So the limitation to this issue is that people kind of suck. And they're not progressive at all in any way. And people like to be contrarians. And so it's going to be very hard to get this memo across to everyone. But it is doable if slowly but surely, just like how kind of being politically correct is kind of the new trend. This can be. So why will this work? This is evident in Jhumpa Lahiri's The Namesake as Gogol or Google.
Did you say Jubla?
Jhumpa?
Continue.
What is it?
I don't know, but I thought you said Jubilee.
No, Jhumpa Lahiri. Google moved from Bengali, and his name, he didn't like his name. It didn't fit in. He got made fun of. He didn't like going to school. And so, in my imagination, after he got his name changed, everything was all right. And that's just an example.
Just says educate yourself.
So this also works because if you educate yourself and take the time to learn and truly appreciate a culture before you borrow or adopt elements of it, then you're truly attributing the ideals and norms, and you're spreading that culture's motives. For example, like when I wear my Aztec pants, I am truly making others learn about the design. And so why the world needs to take action? It's because it has been in recent years one of the most widely discussed sources of ethical problems. People in these cultures that are not Caucasian cultures or European cultures are they feel like offended. Like, for example, the African American culture and their cornrows, you know, when there's been a lot of Caucasian celebrities that have gotten cornrows and they think that the Caucasians are stealing their culture, and there's just a ton of other issues like that. That seems to be it. That's my presentation.
We're like 5 minutes ago.
Do you want questions? Wait.
Oh, my questions. Sorry, oral defense questions now.
Oh, okay. So, what evidence did you gather that you didn't include? Why did you choose not to include it?
Some evidence that I gathered that I didn't include was the fact that cultural appreciation is kind of difficult to distribute to the world, just because the only way to really get
Do it.
the only way to really get people to do that is by PSAs, and a lot of people just don't like to listen.
Okay. Did your research go in a different direction than you originally expected?
Yes, it did.
All right, awesome.